Welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card and a kind of part two to the collaboration with the wonderful Reena from Gold Key Guidance. We recently did a collaboration where we asked what is your head and what is your heart saying to you, and we really felt following that, Reena had the wonderful idea to also look at it from a couple of other levels. So what is your spirit and what is your body saying to you? So this could be literally connected to the situation or the topic that you connected in for that. Or it could be that it's a broader range. Certainly I've taken on what is your spirit saying, and I've found with spirit that spirit usually has a broader canvas than one specific situation and decides what it's going to say, regardless of whatever plans I might have for what the topic is. So I'm leaving this as broad as I possibly can, but by all means, if this connects and resonates for you with what you listened to around your head and heart before, then by all means connect it in. Reena, as I say, will be looking at what is your body wanting to say to you. The link to her reading will be in the description box below. But what I'm going to do with the spirit, I've decided to sort of structure it to look at it on three sort of key lenses. I want to see what your spirit song is. What is the big theme, the type of almost music of your spiritual message, your spiritual life. Then I want to have a look at the key advice, looking at kind of the advisors you might have spiritually, and also some of the sort of energy and signs and storylines and narratives around how spirit is communicating with you. And then I want to have a look at what spirit is saying you can manifest, shadow and light aspects, what the stars can do to support you, and also what you can bring in with your own magic. So hopefully that covers the whole spectrum of the sort of things that spirit would want to talk to you about. But we'll see how we go. As always, I'll put down the numbers for you to be able to choose a reading. By all means, go to more than one if you want. Spirit may be very chatty and have lots of things to tell you across different readings, so you do you with that. What I've done to help with the choice is choose out the Hermit card from 4 different tarot decks. So each Hermit card represents the tarot deck that will be used for the tarot portion of the reading. So that may help you choose if you're familiar with the decks, or the imagery might, or choose however you normally choose. That's completely up to you. For pile number 1, we have the Hermit card from the Dream Visions tarot deck. For pile number 2, we have the Hermit from the Antiquarian tarot. For pile number 3, we have the Hermit from the Radiant Wilds tarot. And for pile number 4, we have the Hermit card from the Blue Deviant tarot. So if you're familiar with those, I've used all of those a number of times in readings on my channel. That may help you choose, as I say, but whatever works for you, you do you. When you know what reading or readings you'd like to go to, the description box has the timestamps as always, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So these cards were under the Hermit card that drew you to this reading, and they're meant to represent to me what spirit is saying to you about your song, your spirit song, where you're at spiritually, the sort of melody, the kind of overarching theme of what your spirit wants to talk to you about today. And I must say, this is a very lovely energy. This is very beautiful. I think one of two types of people will have come to this reading. Either you have been through something difficult, potentially in love or in career or in something where love and service to others is involved, but you are at a breakthrough point, and your spirit wants you to know this. With the archetypes of the prayer and the tear, this is the sense of humbleness and gratitude for a breakthrough, for being able to be in prayerful moments, quiet moments, contemplative moments that bring through what you're really asking for. And the tear is like the sense of a flood of emotion that releases things, heals things, and so forth. And your soul is, and your spirit is talking to you about this because you have a new vision coming through. So for some of you, this will have been about a love relationship, or even having lived without love for a while and wanting to think that love could come in. Or it could be about how you love, and with the 6th house, how you are devoted to others, and where there may be a new vision, a new way to bring alignment and balance into that. So for some of you, you may have been, to be frank, too giving, too caring, too loving, not necessarily because other people don't deserve it, but because perhaps you needed some boundaries and a better way of expressing what you want. For others, you may have been in a difficult relationship and you may have realized it's time to go that you have done everything you could. You have been as loving and as caring and as dutiful in a broad sense as you could, but the only way now is for something new and release. So there is a sense here, if it's about that, and it could be about love for what you were doing for the world, and you have a new vision because you've had an aha moment. But whatever it is, your soul song is about liberation. It is about love. It is about the release of that which isn't working. It is about getting a balance between something new, beautiful, humble, but nevertheless very emotionally resonant, that recognizes the beauty and the sort of service that you bring to a relationship, to your life in general, to those that you care about, to a workplace, whatever it might be. And as I say, it's a very, very lovely energy. It sort of makes me feel a little bit emotional because I feel like it comes after maybe some pain. But I feel like your soul, your spirit wants to say to you, the release is coming. Love is coming, a better balance is coming, a new vision is coming. But if you've been carrying your sense of loving without maybe a reciprocal return, or have been always the one who gives, there is a new vision coming through. It is time to release some of that and to release yourself as well. So what I'm going to do with that song, this song of love, release, emotional sort of liberation, almost prayerful joy that can come through for someone who I think richly deserves it. I think everybody who's come here, the energy that you exude is beautiful. So this is time for you to actually sort of have the vision and come into who you are, and to look at the world differently if you have had it out of balance for some reason. So that's your song, the song of emotional liberation, the song of tears that are freeing and cathartic, the song of your own beauty and how you serve others and the vision. Let's ask for a little bit more information about that from Tarot. Then we're going to move into other aspects, as I said, like what your spirit's voice is to you, the sort of lineage that you come from, and the messages and narratives for you to follow now. But let's just ask for just a little bit more from Tarot around what is this spirit song. The Empress reverse, Knight of Wands, 10 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, Queen of Cups. And there's your lovely energy again. I have to say, for some of you, this may be something quite specific, and I'll say that first because it's not going to be everybody, but there is a very clear way that this spirit song could be working out for some. For some of you, I think you could be parents whose children have grown. They're moving out, or even could be as simple as you've been doing a lot around being the nurturing element in your family, and something is shifting. Children are old enough to go to school, and so it's not your full-time thing anymore. There is definitely something for some of you around a shift in a nurturing role in a family, and there is some emotional release that almost, if it is sort of empty nest syndrome, there could be a little bit of sort of sadness with this, but there is a different way to connect. It's just a different way of doing things. So there's that kind of energy, definitely. And for some, again, you could be separating out of a family for some reason. You could be leaving your parental energy, and going out into the world, or you could even be breaking up from a relationship. And this is sort of like the cathartic energy around this, to go to what is new, moving out of home potentially with the Knight of Wands. But whatever it is, there is still a bedrock here, and most of the emotional pain would be leaving if there is emotional pain, and your emotional constancy and beauty is very, very much part of you. People look to you for that. But I think you've realized, and this is now broader, this is not just if you are changing a family situation in some way, but more broadly, your emotional energy, your emotional heart, all of that draws people to you very charismatically, and you give a sense of stability and solidity to people, but you are recognizing that it needs to shift a bit. Your spirit is singing to you about your emotional release, that you don't have to always be the one who looks after everybody. So I think you've tilted towards the 6th house, the service side of this. But this is time now for you to be loved, to be looked after, to focus on your emotional needs. And not because anybody, as I say, has been awful, but because you deserve it. You've done so much for other people. And if you have been in a difficult relationship, it doesn't look like it has been that difficult. Like there's not the sort of cards that would suggest to me that you've been in an abusive relationship. But if you have, you are leaving that situation and you are stronger for it, and you will draw the right energy in. But you've learnt how your beautiful energy can be taken advantage of sometimes. And it's lovely of you, Pole One. Like your energy is really lovely. It's very moving to look at it. But it is time for you. So your spirit is singing to you of something for you, love for you, a new vision for you. And bring it in with prayer. And if prayers bring you to tears, let the tears come, because they are cathartic. They are meant to sort of clear you and bring you in touch with your heart. So this is lovely. There's a lovely shift happening in your life. So before we do any further tarot, I want to have a look at what the voices are. Who firstly is speaking to you? So there's two decks that I wanted to draw from. One is a deck that has Saints and Mystics, and this is to get a sense of your spirit's almost spiritual lineage, something about the energy that your spirit wants to talk to you about. And we're also going to draw you an archangel as well. So this is your higher self, in a sort of similar sort of energy to some spiritual or mystical person before, and then also your higher self speaking to you through an archangel energy. Then we're going to have a look at how they speak through dreams and oracles, and we're going to look at the narrative that they're trying to talk to you about. So what your spirit is saying at that level. So in terms of your heritage, St. Valentine, divine love. Well, there you go. So St. Valentine, of course, everybody knows who St. Valentine was. We wouldn't have Valentine's Day without St. Valentine. It is about love. Much of this is about love. Love, beauty, caring, and so forth. So there is something in your lineage, your spiritual lineage, that is about love. Romantic love, but broader love than that as well. St. Valentine was loving across all sort of energies. I do think that your spirit is talking to you about a better love relationship coming in, or a shift in a love relationship to make it more balanced and less, as I say, less maybe about nurturing and parenting and more about being together, whatever it might be. But your heritage is love because your heart is so beautiful. So your spirit is talking to you about bringing love and passion into your life. So let's see what archangel energy he's also speaking to you from your spirit's voice, so to speak. Michael. So to have the strength to do this. So Michael is God's strength. Michael is a protector as well. So for any of you where this is where something has been unfair, and as I say, maybe not because you've been around bad people, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave everybody that you're with. You will know if you needed to, but it's not necessarily saying that. But where you need to be able to have balance, where you need to be loved as much as you love, Michael is here to bring you the strength to do that. And if it is necessary to move away from things, change things, or even go into battle, Michael will bring you that energy. The way that Michael is depicted here as well too, with the sort of white and blue wings, I feel the white part of the wings are kind of tilting towards the sort of crown chakra and your connection to the divine and the connection to spirit. But the blue, much of the blue here, I think, is about communication. So I think that Michael is bringing you strength and protection in how you communicate. This shift, this change that your spirit wants you to do, that brings more love in for you, so that people don't react. Because I think that for some of you, you are so giving that if you start to shift some of the boundaries and you say, I need some me time or whatever it is, some people may react, not again because they are bad people, but people get used to a nurturing person always being in the nurturing role, for instance. But it's time for this to shift for you. And if there is a new love coming in and you feel shy about your love, I think Michael will give you the strength to be able to communicate that. So that's really lovely. So let's see how then it's being communicated to you. So there's two ways that I want to look at this. I have a deck that looks at dreams and oracles. So I want to pull a couple of cards from that to see how spirit might be bringing you this message. And then I want to draw a card from the First Nations, the Aboriginal Dreamtime Oracle, to see what sort of story might be underneath all of this, the sort of narrative that spirit is speaking to you. So firstly, how are you going to receive these messages from Spirit, apart from, say, coming through a reading like this? The Oracle of the Goddess. So there's Goddess, divine feminine energy around you. And this is also about creativity, so getting within creative realms. So if you are trying to draw in Goddess energy, then taking some time to create something, things of beauty, things that you care about, maybe a way to draw in and commune with the messages and the symbols and so forth. You could also feel a particular connection to a goddess from a particular mythology or spiritual tradition, in which case really connect with that, whatever works for you. Again, I see this blue energy. It seems to be about communication, so I would certainly be thinking about any creative work which is about communication, music, poetry, writing, getting up and talking in front of people. There's something about communication for you, and that is how you get inspired to do that is part of how Spirit is wanting to talk to you. And through dreams, colours and numbers. Okay. So this is, I think, why I'm being really drawn to the colours here. Pay attention to colours around you. There are synchronicities around that. So blue, definitely, around communication. The other sort of colours that are jumping out here, yellow around the sixth house, your sense of power and who you are within how you serve others. Red, passion, how do you feel secure as well too in your beauty and in yourself, like the root chakra. So pay attention to that. Colours are definitely talking to you. Numbers as well. So you may be the sort of person who sees 1111 or 3333, for instance, or you may dream about numbers and so forth. Pay attention to that sort of thing. I also feel with the clock here, there may be particular times, apart from 11:11, 33:33, that might be significant for you. Times when you can really connect in with the goddess energy, with Michael, for instance, to help you clear this energy out. You may even, I'm getting, cry. The tears may come in your dreams, and I think just let that flow. That's clearing that energy out for you. Pay attention to the colours in your dreams as well, particularly when peak experiences, peak emotions are coming into being. Okay, so what narrative is your Spirit trying to sort of speak to you about to really help you with this emotional liberation, with what the song is? Peace. That's beautiful. It's also deeply transformative, because this story for the First Nations people in Australia is about the passing of a important feminine figure, the Empress reverse, the goddess, whatever. Some of you, there could be something very specific here. Some of you actually, I'm getting, and it's very specific, may be grieving the loss of a very important female figure in your life, mother, grandmother, something like that. But if that's the case, let the tears flow. Love is with you. Support is with you. All of that is coming through, and you may be taking on the mantle of that kind of sense of nurturing, and getting that into balance is important. So I'm just saying that because of this card coming out, and my deepest sympathies if that's the case. But you will rise to this. You have such a beautiful heart, as I say. But generally this story is, I think, being used allegorically here. So this story talks about when a very important sort of maternal figure within the mob, the First Nations mob, passes away, the sort of ceremonies that are done that bring peace to everybody. So I feel that your Spirit is not literally talking about that, unless, of course, you are in a very small group who might come here who are dealing with the passing of a key sort of maternal, or at least parental or nurturing figure. I feel with most of you, this is allegorical of letting go of one way of doing things and peacefully moving into another. And it is around community, the community becoming at peace with the change. So I think it's a very strong story here for you, a very strong song that you are ready to release this, and this will be accepted. People will, with the 10 of Pentacles, it's not going to destabilize things. You're not going to lose anybody that is precious to you out of this, but you are going to peacefully move into what you should be in, a new love, a new kind of balance of relationships, a new job, whatever it is that has been a bit imbalanced is going to come into balance. And so your Spirit just wants you to know your prayers have been heard, honestly, and it's time to kind of emotionally, cathartically let something go, almost grieve that which didn't work to bring in that which will, to go through this transition. So that's gorgeous. So let's get a little bit more from tarot about that. We've got a sense here about something, about a process of coming to peace with a change and the protection that you have around you. So we will ask with tarot, what else would your spirit voice be saying to you? 10 of Swords reversed, 8 of Pentacles reversed, 2 of Pentacles, 7 of Cups, Knight of Cups. Definitely for many of you, new love is coming in. This is preparatory to new love. So it's going to depend on who's come and how, but for some of you, this is definitely the case. And it doesn't even have to be romantic love, though this is your classic romantic card. So I do think with St. Valentine and Knight of Cups, many of you, this is preparatory for a transition to bring in a new love. And it could be a very ideal love, a dream love, actually, for you. I'm getting some of you may get signs of that in your dreams, actually, with 7 of Cups as well, and the dream energy of how Spirit is talking to you. But what it is saying is that there was something dramatic and difficult that you are letting go. It's being recognised. It's being recognised in the song, and it's being recognised in Michael's protection. It's being recognised in the sense of peace coming in. So your spirit is congratulating you on having come through something difficult. And it's shifting your way of looking at things. The 8 of Pentacles reversed is like unlearning something. So it's saying that this is shifting into a new way of being. And you may, Spirit is saying it is perfectly fine to balance and juggle this for a while. You're heading towards something that's better, but you can take your time. Don't feel you have to hurry about this. You can work it out. You can even pass the baton, or in this case, pass the pentacle, so to speak, on to somebody else to take on maybe the role that you did in whatever this is, so that you can transition. And there are many different emotional roads to get to your reward, many different ways to choose it. You can take a little bit of time to work that through, pile 1. Okay, so if that's the voices speaking to you, let's have a look at what you can manifest. So there's a couple of things that I want to do. I firstly want to look at a light and a shadow energy around what you can manifest, because when we manifest and when we use our magic and our spirit, I'm sorry about that, pile 1. That was just something getting delivered. So that kind of just had to run down the stairs, so I'm a little bit puffed. But as I was saying, I think when we are listening to our spirit and when we are then manifesting it, there is both a shadow element we need to be aware of and a light element, because that's true of all of us. And the shadow is not necessarily something wrong, but it is something that we need to understand. And I feel for you, it's because your energy is too lovely for it to be anything really dark, but it may be a little bit of an indication of anything residual that you need to let go of. And then we will look at the light element as well for you. So for shadow, Apuch. So Apuch is the Mexican god of the dead. So it's interesting, there's this sense, as I say, I don't think for most of you this is about anybody dying. I mean, if that's happened, it's happened. Like, let me make that really clear. I never believe any spiritual sort of readings like this will predict something like that. It would only be if it had already happened. So I think for most of you, this is not about that, but this is about transition. But the point about Apuch is that the Mexican god of the dead is a bit scary to the Mexicans. And one of the ways that they deal with that to try and make sure that it passes by their door is to make a lot of noise. So they deal with their fear by making noise, because it tends to push away the shadow. I think this is partly why this is so much around what you say. If you have fears about letting go, shifting, whatever this is, to become more who you are and bring in the love that you would want, I think this is saying you can speak that. All you need to do is use your voice, because that will actually show that you're not afraid and you're moving away from anything that was difficult, and it will allow you to embrace what it is that you want to go to. So your only shadow really here is fear of the repercussions from others in you shifting this, I think. But you will find it's fine. You just need to speak. So Let's also see white light. So that wasn't too bad as a shadow. I would have been really surprised if there was a really dark shadow for you, I've got to say. Let's see what the light side of what you can bring in is, what your spirit wants you to know. Spirit Owl of 852 hertz. This is about having a higher order perspective. So this is the thing. You have been so close. You're so loving. You've been so close. What your spirit is now doing is lifting you up with Spirit Owl to be able to see something from a long distance and to see, I feel for many of you almost prophetically see a new love coming in, or whatever this is that you're trying to bring into your life in terms of your emotions and your love nature more generally. You'll see it, quite far out. You'll see it coming. You'll understand it's coming. You'll be able to prepare for it. It's like you see all these sort of Seven of Cups here. You see all the opportunities and you'll see which one is going to flower ahead of time because you'll have a perspective. And part of that perspective comes from whatever has been difficult, that has caused a bit of grief or a little bit of heartache that you're now releasing. But you have the perspective. Your spirit is very high order, I have to say, in a very loving but very balanced way. And so therefore, this is why, as I say, there wasn't much of a shadow energy. You're meant to be sort of like flying towards that which is a better outcome for you. So let's see how before we do this, actually, I'm going to do the tarot, and then I'm going to finish off with how the stars can guide you and what your own magic can bring from understanding this. So we're going to ask the tarot, if we know that your shadow is moving past fear and finding your voice, and we know that your perspective is the thing that's going to really make you fly towards that which you now very richly deserve. Let's see what else tarot can say about what you can manifest now. Judgment, Page of Swords, there's the voice again, High Priestess reversed, Six of Wands, Eight of Wands. Well, there's the freedom and there's the flight. Isn't that interesting? We have the Page of Swords falling here, which is about finding your voice, speaking your truth with Apuk. And with judgment, being able to know when and how to do that. Great diplomacy, actually. You have great diplomatic skill, great tact. You will know how to do this. And over here with Spirit Owl, we have recognition of the flight that you're taking, of the movement that you're making. You can really bring this into being and be seen a bit more for what you've been doing. You deserve more recognition for what you've been doing. And for you, your spirit already knows this, so you're not actually going to have to speak about the spiritual side of this. That's very personal for you. You can keep that to yourself. But you can bring to the surface through what you say and what you do what has been out of balance so that it comes into balance. So you're not going to be saying to somebody when you make this shift or you meet the love of your life or whatever it is that's being promised by this, that this is somehow a spiritual thing, but inside you will know it. And you will know that you have reached this because you will be able to speak openly and quickly and assess situations really well, and because you will be recognized and you will be free. So this is lovely, but I really do feel that you deserve it. So I'm feeling really happy with Spirit at the moment, pile one. So let's just see, to finish off, what astrology or numerology can help you. And then we'll get also what magic you personally bring to manifesting what Spirit is saying to you here. Waxing crescent moon. So that's about new intentions. Yeah, you need to be starting to think about that. And it's really emotional. What do you want? When you're in this prayerful stage, when you're letting go of that which hasn't worked, also use that time and that spiritual energy to set intentions for what you want to bring in. Waxing gibbous moon. So that's also about clarifying your goals. This is all about the sort of like, what will you say? What will you do? What are your goals? And use you're obviously very in tune with the moon. So use the cycles of the moon and the energy of the moon to help you with this. And Uranus. Yeah, it's time for change. It's time for liberation. Significant liberation. Plus with Uranus, you are going to get inspiration. You'll get inspiration from Michael, from St. Valentine, from all your spirit team, really, and from this higher order perspective that you can get with Spirit Owl. So don't be afraid of change. Change, it's time for change, and it will be a change for the better. So last but not least, I'm just going to pull a card from the Magic and Mediums deck to see what magic you'll bring to manifesting the message of your spirit now. Pile 1. Learn. Okay, so part of this, I think, is about learning from what has happened and how you need to shift it. Part of it is from learning from how you will be received once you do this, which I think you're going to be very happy with. But I think it's also saying that some of this may be about taking the time for yourself to learn what you want spiritually, to broaden your horizons and so forth. Because the more that you take advantage of this time and so forth, the more you may bring the love in, the more you may feel connected to your spirit. And I think eventually too, you'll pass that on and teach others. Pile 1. So as I said right from the beginning, you've got a lovely energy. You really deserve this, and it's time for something really good to come in. I do think there's been some difficulty, but I think that that's all washing away with the tears. And really find your voice, find your song, and then I think you will find your love in whatever that means. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 1. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. This is so beautiful emotionally. It would be wonderful to know what your body is also saying to you at this time, because I feel like there is something kind of cathartic in this energy. And so please do go and look at Reena's video as well and see what the message of your body is, because I think the two will align beautifully for you. And with that, I will wish you well and hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So we're going to start, as I said, with, in a sense, the song of your soul. So we're going to look at this as a bit of an overview of that, then drill into that with a bit of tarot. Then we're going to look at the voice of your spirit and what they're saying to you, you know, both through kind of archetypes or spirit team members for you, and also how they communicate. And then we'll use tarot for that. And then we're also going to look at what this is meant to manifest for you, what your spirit wants you to manifest. So the song of your soul is interesting. It is probably about love, I have to say, when we have the lovers right there in the center. I think the greater majority of people coming here, there is something about a love relationship. But if it's not, it could be a connection or a union in a different way, and that it's just one that will be very heartfelt. So it is possible for some of you, particularly with Virgo, it could be around business or something like that as well. Or it could be with the Queen energy here around power, you know, collaboration and dealing with sort of leadership type things. So for some of you, the song may not be about love, but for all of you, it is about a connection with someone else. All of you. And this is because with the archetypes and also your sovereignty and how you operate within that. Sorry, I just had to pause there briefly because I had a delivery arriving. So if I sound a bit puffed, that's why. But as I say, I do think the bridge here is all about connection. It can be things spiritually, connection between the worlds. Yes, like a shaman will connect you to different sort of levels of you know, dimensions and reality. But I do feel with the lovers here that there is a very strong thing about a connection with another person. And with the Queen, I think your spirit is talking to you about the right way, you know, whether it's sort of, you know, like using power in the right way, the connection and the balance in the right way, divine feminine and divine masculine, whatever it might be. So whether it is literally a love relationship or it's some other sort of collaboration, there's part of the song of your spirit to you is about not being fearful, going forward and making this connection, and knowing that you can sort of be true and sovereign to yourself in this connection. It is saying there's a very deep spiritual and very deep psychic connection with this person. Some of it may feel a little bit almost subterranean or strange, or it may be at this point in time you've just met someone or you're just about to meet someone and you don't yet know, it's not clear. With the moon, it's sort of like some of the light around it is a bit hidden, there's a bit of a mystery, you have a sense of psychic connections, you've dreamt about them, all of that kind of thing. That energy could be happening, but your your soul is just saying, yes, that's because there is a connection, and it is meant to ground. It is meant to become something with Virgo. It's meant to be embodied with Virgo. So it'd be very, very important for you to go to Reena's reading to see what your body wants to say to you with Virgo coming up. This is not meant to be just a kind of 5D connection. If this could be a divine counterpart or something like that, it's meant to come to union, because it's not just meant to be in the numinous. It's meant to be more broadly, and this is part of you becoming who you are. But as I say, I do think for most of you it's love. I do. I don't like to limit things too much, but I think your soul is singing, your spirit is singing to you about love, and about a very, very significant relationship that either you're in and you're finding your way through, and it's a little bit shadowy still, you're not sure, and you're a little bit afraid about how much to commit, or it's one coming in. But if it's not literally that, then it's a very important connection on another level. But it is meant to ground. So your spirit wants to sing to you about that. So we're firstly going to start with some tarot to ask a little bit more about the soul, your spirit song, your soul song. Then we're going to have a look at what the spirit's voice is to you, what they're trying to say through various sort of oracles and tarot. But firstly, just a little bit more about this song, the song that your spirit is singing to you, Pile 2. Eight of Pentacles reversed, Three of Wands reversed, Ace of Swords, Queen of Swords, Page of Wands. Okay, all right. So this is a new way of thinking. Your spirit wants you to think very differently about this connection than other connections before. I think it wants you to unlearn things. This is not going to be like relationships before, whether this is love or something else. This is something very different. So don't sort of get out your list of everything that's happened before and go ticking off things on a criteria, because this is very, very different. And if you do try and do that, you're just going to lose the way. You're not going to find the bridge, the connection. There's a very strong mental connection with this person, psychic and also intellectual. And that's going to suit you, I think, Pile 2. I think you are someone who is very smart, very much in your head. And, as I often say, I live in my head a lot too. So that's why I kind of chuckled a bit when I saw that, because this is someone who I can actually sort of see this energy. I understand this energy, who very much is driven by, what you believe, what you think, your philosophy, and what's coming in is passion. Passion's coming in. So and I think that's wonderful. I'm just sort of like chuckling, because I know what it can be for someone who is like that, from my own personal experience. So this is wonderful. But your soul song is not just to sort of like, part of your queendom has been, I really know and understand what's going on. This is why throw the rule book out. That's what your spirit is saying to you. This is not going to be like other things. You're not going to be able to kind of parse it out and kind of, as I say, tick off the check the boxes. This is very different, but it's also very passionate. It has a huge amount of potential, and you have to go into the passion, into the bodily side of it to really get it. And as I say, if this is not love, it could be a creative partnership or something like that. What it's also saying is you won't lose that, because you've got the Queen archetype there as well as the Queen of Swords. You're not going to lose that. You're not going to be fooled. Nothing like that. You just need to be able to sort of like go into the passion, and it's almost like you feel a little less sure in areas where passion is concerned than in areas where the intellect is concerned. This is why the bridge is here. This is why the psychic connection is here. This is why your soul is singing to you that this is a beautiful, wonderful opportunity, but you just need to get out of your head a bit. So that's very encouraging, but it can be easier said than done if you're that sort of person, but be encouraged by what your soul is singing to you. So let's see how they're voicing this to you. So firstly, I want to have a look at some almost spiritual lineage and spiritual archangel energy for you. So part of how this message is being delivered. So we're going to start with a card from the Saints and Mystics deck to see, almost as I say, a spiritual lineage that could connect to you, that your spirit could be connecting to give you this message, and then also an archangel. So St. Jude, saving grace. Okay, sorry, I shouldn't chuckle. It's just I'm only chuckling because I know this energy for myself, pole two. So it's fellow feeling. But I feel like for many of you, you're so used to sort of living in your head and not necessarily sort of like, it's not necessarily that you haven't had love in your life. But it feels to me like you're used to kind of mental connections or whatever, and this is much more holistic. St. Jude is, of course, grace. It is bringing in grace. It is where you think the last thing you expect is to have this kind of a connection now, or if you have been in something but it's been hard to embody it and you don't know how to bring it into union, your spirit is saying it's going to. Grace is coming. So get ready because it's coming in pole two. And it's lovely. It's a really, really nice energy. Grace is the most powerful force in the universe, I believe. It goes beyond anything because it's not really necessarily that we ever deserve grace, though I suspect you do, but it's beyond that. It's sort of something where something is just meant to be, and it may be showing that it's been difficult and you've been trying to sort out how to sort out this relationship or how to understand it. And it just going into the passion, and that it brings the grace in. Or if you felt like you were alone and you were too different and you thought too differently, something's coming in. So that's beautiful. So St. Jude is talking to you where you feel the least hope. That's where grace is coming in. So let's see what Archangel is also wanting to talk to you through your spirit. Sariel. So this is very interesting because he's kind of the dark night of the soul. So this is starting to clarify this. I think for most of you, you maybe have met this person and trying to get the sort of divine counterpart energy or something of that really significant spiritual and love nature has been a bit difficult. This is why grace is coming to you and Sariel is coming to take you through the dark night of the soul. And what Sariel talks about is balancing polarities, balancing opposites. So the king to your queen or vice versa. And this is not about gender. But it is getting that into balance so that it can actually come into union, it can actually be. So either you are still just dreaming about someone, you have a sense they're coming in and you're wanting to think about how to get there, but you're doubting it because your mind doubts it. And this is to give you the grace and the sense of bringing that energy in. Or either, as I say, you have been struggling to bring a divine union into being or something like that, like a very strong love relationship that's psychically and spiritually attuned. This is bringing the energy to do that. It's very, very spiritually high order with that kind of indigo blue. There's a sort of an energy there really of having divine input. In the Kabbalah, blue is Hesed, amongst other things. And so that's kindness as well. So there's something kind about all of this energy to help that. So your spirit is telling you that there is a breakthrough coming about this. And you don't need to second guess it. So let's sort of see what signs and symbols they may send, your spirit may send you to know to get in touch with this. So firstly, through your dreams, school and exams. Okay, so I don't know about you, but whenever I dream about school and exams, I tend to have a dream that I've forgotten what room the school or exam is in and I'm going to miss it, or I haven't studied for it or something like that. These seem to be dreams that come when we feel we're inadequate or that we're not ready or we don't understand what's going on. And for someone, and again, like me, who lives a lot in their head, this is, they're not being prepared for an exam feels like, a nightmare basically. But I think this is just meant to bring you into awareness that you are overthinking it. So I think this is, don't feel you're not adequate. You're the queen, as I say, not gender specific. So your spirit is trying to show you that you are worrying about something that isn't even real, so that you can allow it to come in. And also through Oracle, action. Okay, so you will get oracular insights by just doing something. Stop just thinking about it, do something. That's the Queen of Swords moving to the Page of Wands, do something. It could be the smallest thing. If you haven't met this person yet, maybe go out to a few social functions and see whether that draws it in. If you have met the person and you're kind of in a bit of a standoff about what to do next, do something that is full of action, something that, kind of gets the blood pumping, all of that kind of thing. Get out there and maybe, like play a game of tennis together, anything around action will start to connect you with your spirit, so that your spirit can actually give you hints and ideas about how to bring this into the body. And as I say, I do think that the reading from Reena around the body will be very important here. Okay, so what we also want to do, if we kind of know how it's messaging, is that I want to draw a card from the Aboriginal Dreamtime Oracle. So this is First Nations people in Australia. And I want to look at the narrative that might be under this. What kind of story? If we've got the song, which is towards union, and we've got some sort of spiritual support to let you know you'll have the grace and the capacity to come out of the difficulty, and you don't have to feel inadequate, you just have to act. What is the kind of underpinning story that your spirit is trying to say to you about this? Patience. Okay. I think this has a double message. There's the literal one when I saw patience and thought, if you're dealing with this kind of energy, you do need patience. So grace is coming through. But I think you've already probably either been patiently waiting for love to come in your life, or patiently dealing with someone who's, as I say, a divine counterpart. But this story is really interesting. So First Nations people tell the story of the wind, and they say that the wind used to love to sort of like dance around through the forest, through the bushland, through the trees, and listen to the stories, and the way that the different animals would talk to each other. But then he realised that sometimes they said things that upset him, or who were cruel about each other, or things like that. And he got really, really angry, and he just blew really hard and fast and so forth to deal with it. And then he realised that he kind of like that cleared out the energy for him. And that whenever he sort of felt frustrated with something, just kind of acting, moving, doing something made him feel better. So I think that your spirit is saying, this grace will be with you, but this is a significant relationship. As I say, whether it's love, I think for most of you it is, or whether it's sort of something else. And it will have its times where you are frustrated by the other person, frustrated by the people around it, whatever it might be. Act, do something, move, because you will find that dissipates and you feel better, and you will be able to stay on course. And in your body, exercise is going to be really good for you, pile 2. So let's ask Tarot for a little bit more information about what your spirit's saying to you on this sort of level in terms of the voice, the message that they're trying to bring you. Queen of Wands. There's Queen again. Strength. 4 of Swords reversed. 9 of Cups. 5 of Swords. It's pretty clear. It's saying here, you're meant to be a Queen of Wands. You are a Queen of Swords already, but kind of let up a little bit on the analysing. You'll always be strong there and go into the self-actualised, passionate, vibrant, charismatic person that you are. That's really your strength. It's almost like your intellect, and your intellect is significant, I've got to say. But it's almost been the thing that you kind of like, it was like your compensation prize if you couldn't find someone at your level. But you're meant to find someone at your level. You're meant to find passion. This is going to be a strength for you. And strength to me really speaks of getting into your body as well too, just as Virgo does. So the more that you allow yourself to go into this, the stronger and happier you will feel. But you do have to come out from your room. You do have to enter into the world. You can't just be in your head. Then you bring in your wish, and it lets go of some of the sort of like almost preparatory pessimism that you might have had about relationships because of things in the past. You're meant to be the queen to a king, or a king to a queen. As I say, it doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter what your preferences are. It could be queen to queen or king to king. That's not the point. But you are meant to be shining and passionate and charismatic and strong. But you need to come a little bit out of your head to do that and claim what you want. That's what your spirit wants you to do, because everything is being set up to allow this to happen. But your mind is so strong, you could kind of like hold it back. And that's about all I think you could do. I think it's going to happen, but you could hold it back longer than you need. So to get to that sort of really good payoff, your spirit wants you to own your passion, own what you want. So let's have a look then what you could manifest. So we're going to have firstly have a look at shadow and light around this. So because we all have shadow and light that we manifest in any situation. So it gives us an idea about what to balance. And there are things about balancing polarities around this for you. So firstly, what shadow energy would your spirit like you to think about and bring into balance? chimera, synergy. Okay, so there's a couple of things with this. The chimera is a mythical creature that is made of many different things. So you can see a lion's head, then we've got, you know, what looks like a goat, and what looks like a serpent. But basically it's a sort of fantastical creature. So on one level, chimera can be something that you know, we think is not capable of being. So I think there is a shadow here for you about, do you really believe you could have this love? Do you really believe you could have this? Or do you think it's a chimera? And I think this would be saying, no, it's not a chimera. Everything here is saying it could happen. But the power of the chimera and the synergy is that you could either move past that and synergistically bring yourself together with the other half of you, or you could sort of like synergize all the past and stop it from happening. So I think you need to have faith in it, that you know, it is not something that is impossible. Okay, so let's see what the white light energy, so the light energy of this is that your spirit's talking to you about. The sun, that's about as bright as it can get. So this is about connecting to your inner truth and your inner light. So in all of this, even in connection, you're not going to lose that. I think it's what it's saying. In fact, it's going to make you shine even brighter. The interesting thing is 417 hertz is described here as a spiritual truth serum. Nothing that is a chimera is going to last in this. So basically, you don't have to fall back on your mind. You just need to go in and act and see, because if this is the relationship that Spirit is talking to you about, it will shine, you will shine in it, the other will shine in it, and it will happen. Anything that is standing in the way of it, your doubts or their doubts, the spiritual truth serum will actually shed the light on it and clear it out. So I think this is a very strong call from your spirit not to doubt this, even if it can be hard at times. Grace is going to come. You're going to know that you can do it. You're going to be able to shine light on it. So that's very powerful. Okay, so before we finish up with looking what astrology can do for you and what your own magic can do for you with this message, I just want to also use tarot for any last messages about how you would manifest this message from your spirit. Judgment reversed. The blank card. I'll talk to you about what that is. Wheel of Fortune reversed. Seven of Pentacles. King of Cups reversed. Okay. Firstly, I would say part of the manifestation about this is that there have been relationships or issues before that haven't worked and haven't been right. And it's important to recognize those and not think, as I say, that the same thing is happening again. So manifesting this because your mind is very powerful. If your mind goes to that, then it limits it and it stops the sort of true sunlight coming in, and and it takes you into that anxiety thing like the school and exams. So there is something from the past you need to let go of. Or in some cases, this might be the divine counterpart, but they may have further to go than you, which might be why patience was necessary. But I think for most of you, this is more about letting go of judgments that are no longer going to serve you, to find the thing that will grow, the Seven of Pentacles, the thing that has an investment return. But there's something, and I think this is either you haven't met this person yet, but they're coming in, or this grace, whatever this is, something is coming in that is not apparent at this point. With the blank card turning up, the blank card, some decks have them. In this deck, it appears to be maybe a self-portrait of either the creator or of a fortune teller in some way. This, to me, says that something is in the unmanifest waiting to be born. So it could be for some of you that you're starting to dream about someone you haven't met them. You might not even be dreaming about them yet. It might not even be on your radar yet, but it's coming in. And when it comes in, you'll know, but you won't be able to fully manifest any of this until this has occurred. If you are in the situation and you're hitting a bit of a brick wall and you're thinking, how can this ever shift? It just seems to be going wrong. Something that you absolutely don't expect, this grace energy is coming in to make it work. So that's interesting. So you may have to be a bit patient, but it's coming. Okay, so we're going to finish off with some astrology or numerology to guide you, and then we're going to look at what magic you bring to the manifestation of what your spirit is talking to you about. Pile 2. So Venus, this is definitely about love, I've got to say. I'd be very surprised if it isn't, unless it's about some sort of business or collaboration that is about things to do with Venus, like beauty, music, love in some other way. But I think for most this is a love reading. 4, and you're meant to get a foundation with this. You're meant to sort of start to materialize it. That's why Virgo turned up. This is not going to be just a kind of meeting of the minds or meeting of the souls. This is meant to actually have a foundation in the world. And Mars, it's meant to be around action. Action, movement. Maybe you'll meet through sporting activities or something. I don't know. There's something very much about movement, action, and so forth. And as I say, definitely go and see what Reena has to say, because I think the body is important here. Okay, so to finish off pile 2, I just want to see what magic you bring to the manifestation of what your spirit is saying to you at the moment. Guardian. Okay, so this may be, in fact, I might pull the second card, because I've had this happen once before when I've done this, and somebody said to me, but what's my magic skill? And I was saying, like, a guardian is around you, something is watching over you to take you through this and make this happen and to protect you. So I think it was a fair thing to say. So I think this is just saying you are being protected. Grace is there, and when this new thing comes in, you're protected to make sure you end up with the right person. But I might ask one more time, what is the magic that you bring to it? Attraction. Yeah, your beauty, your attractiveness, your readiness. When you're ready to let this happen, you'll attract it and draw it in. So you actually do have that kind of law of attraction thing. This is the thing. Your mind's very strong, and people with very strong minds can have that, but can sometimes, in a sense, almost create the very barriers that they're worried about because of the strength of their mind. So action, passion, all those things are the thing to do. Operate on that level of attraction. You will be protected. So part 2, I hope that you enjoyed that reading. I hope it resonates for you. And if so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Please do go and see Reena's reading. I think this one particularly needs to be embodied. And other than that, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile 3 to your reading. So these cards were under the Hermit card from the tarot deck, drawing you to this reading. And they're meant to show your soul or your spirit's song. And we will look into this with tarot as well, before then looking at what your spirit wants to say to you, voice to you around it, and then also what your spirit wants you to manifest. And I have to say, this is profound. It could operate on a number of levels. This is a very profound message from your spirit. For some of you, this could be about healing an inner child of very, very old and deep wounds, to free and liberate that which you want and bring joy into your life. And in doing so, communicate something that is on a much larger stage. I'm getting for some of you, you could write some amazing memoir or book that actually helps people have aha moments and healing with this. For others of you, I think there is something new and beautiful and emotionally resonant and healing that your spirit wants you to bring into the world, that somehow connects people in the world. Because when I look at these 2 archetypes, it's profound that they both came out, because on one hand, with the orphan, this archetype talks about where we don't feel connected, where we feel orphaned, where we feel isolated, where we feel different. And it talks about that on a global stage, how that plays out both on a very, very personal level and also collectively. Where do we find our home? So I feel for you, for some of you, your spirit is very much talking about your own home, your own journey to that, your own journey to a happier sort of sense of the inner child and all of that kind of thing. But for some, this is also on a much bigger stage. This is about how to connect and make community and heal and emotionally soothe and communicate with others across divides. Like, it's a really powerful energy. I feel most of you are knowing this collective well now who come to these readings. I feel that many of you are going to do something that is profound to heal others. And I'm feeling really emotional now. Sometimes you guys make me cry. I do feel like the wounding of the orphan, I think you know it. I think you've experienced it, whether it is literally from coming from a broken home or whether it's from feeling different. But that which is different in you is also the other side of the coin, the eternal child, the joyful, the liberation, the new. And your communication skills are amazing. And your healing skills is amazing. The only thing ever, though, with Chiron, particularly with this sort of energy, I think your soul is singing to you, your spirit is singing to you about healing yourself as well, too, because Chiron was, in mythology, the wounded healer who healed so many others, and he taught so many people. He taught magicians, he taught spiritual leaders, all of that kind of thing. There's something that you're going to do in this space. Sorry, I just had to wipe my eyes. Something that you're going to do in this space, and it's very emotionally beautiful and very healing, but I do think your soul wants you to heal yourself as well. They want you to hear your own song. Like some of you may literally do it through music or through a song. That could be how you communicate this, that it's coming out with the soul song, but there is something, your spirit song, your spirit message is about healing and the new and connection and collectivity and stopping everybody feeling so isolated and set apart, but wanting to celebrate what is different and unique in everybody, but also in a connected way. And as I say, your communication skills are off the charts, but so are your healing skills. And this is a very emotional thing. It's not... It could be, you could do it through, theoretic things like therapeutics. You could do it through writing or whatever, but whatever it is very emotional because you're hitting the core. Your spirit is hitting the core of what it is to be human and in this complex world. So, wow, all three. Let's get a little bit more information about what your spirit is singing to you, about what your spirit song is at the moment. I hope it doesn't make me cry anymore. Okay. 5 of Wands. The Fool. Yeah, there's the new. And the Child, getting back to the innocence. 9 of Cups. And the Wish, bringing a wish in. Oh, that's lovely. 7 of Pentacles, that is healthy and grows. And the Empress, which is nurturing. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. At the very least, your soul is singing to you about how you are going to heal. You are going to find your own new beginning. You are going to be able to follow your dream. You are going to be able to make it manifest. You are going to get your abundance and feel nurtured in a way that possibly you haven't. You are moving away from what was petty rubbish into something that is better. But I think for many of you, you've recognized where stupid things, stupid politics, stupid media, all that kind of stuff, things that really shouldn't matter, things that have no real heft compared to what you're looking at, have kind of like made everybody contort all over the place. And it's like there's something that you're going to communicate that is about looking at this completely differently. What did we all actually want? What do we all actually have in common? Because we have more in common. I'm feeling really emotional at the moment. We have more in common than we have different. But our whole world is polarized to a point that we are being pushed into taking camps and demonizing the other and everything. You know that maybe you've been demonized. Maybe for that reason. Maybe you've been deeply wounded. Maybe you were, ostracized for being different. There's something, you get it. You know that it is in collectively working towards something that can grow and something that is nurturing, mutually nurturing. You can do so much more. So your soul is singing to you about a very profound thing. And as I say, it could be just within your own life, but I don't think so. I think most of you are here with a mission. And sorry, I am quite emotional now. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Even if it's come from pain, and I think it has, and I feel for you on the pain level, but sometimes it's in the pain that we learn and we connect with others. Sometimes that's how we connect. Like you may literally be in a situation where there is a lot of, as I say, petty politics or something. And it's through the pain that everybody's experiencing that you actually have the aha moment and you help people. And your skills of communication are very, very strong. So speaking of communication, I wanted to have a look at what your spirit is saying to you, your spirit's voice. So the starting point of that is a couple of key speakers, so to speak. And one is either a saint or a mystic to give you a kind of spiritual lineage for what your spirit is saying to you, and one is an archangel. So firstly, for your spiritual lineage, we have Socrates. Oh, wow. There's your communication skills. That is perfect. That is perfect for this. Because Socrates, one of the most brilliant minds ever, but he was also one of the most balanced. What he did, and this is what's so important, this is probably how you can do this, is that he used what is now called the Socratic method. I mean, it's named after him. Instead of lecturing people and just telling them what to think, which is kind of what is happening to us in the world at the moment, Socrates asked questions. question after question after question, to get people to be able to think for themselves, to have that liberation, to find out both what they have in common and what is different, what is real, what is sustainable with all that. He had a very strong divine connection. You have a very strong divine connection, definitely. You wouldn't be able to do this and have this vision without it. But it's a methodology of communication. It's a methodology of getting people to be able to see things, the consequences of things and so forth. So you have a lineage to philosophy, really, and to understanding the bigger picture and being able to have a clarity of insight that you bring to it. This is why you're exactly the right person for this in whatever level you're doing it. So your spirit wants you to know that. Let's see what archangel is watching over you as you do this. Azrael. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, out with the old and in with the new. Azrael can be scary, and you might be scary sometimes because I think you've been through some stuff and you've started to understand who you need to be. And as I say, your communication powers and your mind are off the charts. But Azrael is the archangel of sort of death and life transitions. And this doesn't mean that there's anything about death associated with this. It's out with the old and in with the new. He watches over that. He's like a psychopomp, and we also have a raven there. So you are able to go to the depths and that way heal people and bring them to the heights. And he is watching over that, allowing a transition. You are here for a pivotal moment, I think, and for a purpose. And it could be, as I say, could just be the closest people to you. It could be you healing yourself and then others. But I think you will heal others. I don't think it's just you. And whether it's your closest family and friends, or whether it's a community group, or whether it's something on the world stage, I don't know. But you are the energy that we need in the world at the moment. So that is very fitting. But you could be a little bit intimidating to some people because of this mind and that. So it's the only thing to be aware of. But I think ultimately, sometimes people just have to deal with that. They have to go with that energy. So let's see how your spirit is also talking to you, either through dreams or oracular signs as well. So firstly, through your dreams, vehicles, car. Oh, this is interesting. So when vehicles and cars turn up in dreams, it's often a question about what direction should you go in life, should other people go in life? Where should the fool be journeying? How do they become the eternal child rather than the orphan? So, do you feel in control of your life plans? Your capacity to link to Socrates and work it out and question it and be open to the outcomes and transition out of what isn't working into what will with Azrael. There's something here about movement, about traveling, about taking things forward. So it's your life direction. This is partly about your life direction. And we also have, as an oracular thing, magic. Shift your focus to a positive view. Yeah, you can bring this in. You can bring in the Nine of Cups. You can have a vision of what would be so much better, and you can bring it in. You definitely can. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to anything that feels magical. There are very divine connections around you wanting to bring this in. Okay, so if that's part of what they're voicing to you, I want to also get a story or a narrative from the First Nations people in Australia. So this is from the Aboriginal Dreamtime Oracle. So this is meant to get a little bit of an overarching story that your spirit is trying to say to you at the moment for this message. Father of the Sky. Wow. This tells me that part of this is about, you bringing together and creating harmony with, like warring factions who really shouldn't be. This story is a story of emu and kangaroo, and they are wanting to race to the other end of the sky. And they each go, I'm going to be faster, I'm going to win. And they run and they run and they run and they run, and eventually they fall over exhausted because they still aren't there. And then as they fall over exhausted, they see the sky and they realize that the sky is limitless. The sky is limitless. So it's pointless. It's pointless to be sort of competing, and then they just laugh themselves stupid and they understand, and then they're friends forever. So this is about a message about, look, we have all this petty rubbish. I feel this so strongly. It's really affecting me. We have all this petty rubbish, and you get it, and you're going to be able to show that. And it's really interesting, that kind of sense, because it feels like children. It feels like children in a playground. And the thing about children in a playground is that they will have their little battles and they will have their little competitions, and then, 5 seconds later, they're friends again. There's something about that. There's something about that energy, and almost you understand the absurdity of competing where we should be collaborating. Okay, so let's get a little bit of tarot to see if that can stop my tears flowing around this, to just see a little bit more about what your spirit wants to say to you, wants to voice to you about this. Four of Pentacles, Two of Pentacles reversed, the Magician. There's your magic. You're very magical, very connected. Actually, I'm feeling like your words are magical. Knight of Wands reversed, Four of Swords reversed. Okay, so what it's interesting. Four of Pentacles, traditionally is holding on really tightly to material things. It's a fear of lack, because the next card is the Five of Pentacles, and Two of Pentacles is reversed here. I think what your spirit is saying to you is to understand that a lot of this is around material choices and people's fears about lack, and your capacity to kind of find the way through. And again, with amazing sort of communication skills, amazing kind of like if, then, what, but type sort of discussion or whatever, you can actually take them out of that. And they don't have to rush. You can give them a sort of a pattern that's actually is creative, but it's not reckless, but allows people to get out of their corners and out of their homes. Like, I get a real strong sense here of like, maybe, one of the ways that you might manifest this is with online groups that are so divided that you find a way to connect them in what they have in common, and they cautiously come out and start to learn that they have more in common, like breaking down of certain censorship that exists online, for instance, and connecting people. But I think you have a way of giving a pathway that is both inspiring but not frightening, and allows people to come out of this sort of like lack mentality, to understand that there is more that can be done. And there's maybe one particular one, and the way that this particular Four of Pentacles is done, I always feel like there's one particular avenue that will be particularly beneficial. Excuse me. So, sniffling away here. So let's have a look then in how you're manifesting it. And we're going to start with light and shadow, because we always have light and shadow when we're manifesting something. So, particularly someone like you who's such a strong magician. Let's just see where that is. What you need to know in your shadow, and also what light energy is around you as well. That's interesting. Charon. So another psychopomp, and you've got Azrael. And this talks about reciprocity, because with Charon, of course, you pay the ferryman to take you to the other side across the river Styx. So this again is like, what is the reciprocity here? Rather than who ends up with the most toys, it's how does everybody have a toy? How does everybody be able to manage the transition that is necessary here? But there may be a thing where you feel there is a cost associated with this. There may in fact be a bit of a cost to you. So I think that you need to look after yourself. I think your spirit is saying that sometimes this journey, because you are the magician, you can go into the underworld in a way and see what is the darker energy behind this, as well as go to the heights and understand how to link and marry those two things. And you may sometimes go into very dark memories and dark places, and places where you feel wounded. So I think that your spirit wants you to know that there isn't a price here for you. You don't have to pay for this. This is something that you're actually going to create for yourself and others in a good way. But you may have this sort of sense there's a price to pay. And I think that the reality is you're more than clever enough for that not to be the case. Let's have a look at the white light energy. Wow, the beatitude of sacred rapture. So a beatitude is the highest blessing of all. And I think that there is a sense here that in taking this on, you will achieve for yourself the highest blessing. And sacred rapture is enjoying and pure joy in actually achieving something. But this is also about being seen and recognized. So I think that for many of you, this has come from being different, being unrecognized, maybe being bullied, maybe being ostracized, maybe being isolated. But that dark passage has actually made you understand something that many other people don't do. And there is a beautiful, beautiful outcome for you. This is why your spirit is saying it's not a price to pay anymore. You've already paid the ferryman, actually, in whatever you've gone through. You're now meant to get to sort of something where you can see yourself truly and others can see themselves truly. It's a bit like the Nine of Cups here has a mirror, so it's like seeing the truth, the beauty in things, not the division in things. So you're meant to have a rapturous outcome for this. Okay, so before I finish up with looking at some astrology and numerology and also what your magic is that you bring to this, I want to go back to tarot one more time to see what else tarot would say about how you manifest this message from your spirit. Eight of Pentacles, Six of Pentacles, Page of Wands, the Hanged One reversed, Two of Wands. Oh yeah, again, this is very clear. You're meant to be a teacher. This is why Socrates came out. Now, you don't have to be literally a teacher in terms of profession, but you are going to teach people some stuff. You have enormous skills, an enormous capacity to bring generosity into the play and to have a sense of reciprocal exchange. You are going to show a different way of doing things. You are going to teach, and you have all the skills that you need. You're just meant now to start to creatively send that out into the world. And some of you, maybe online or maybe with music, as I said at the beginning, that's what's coming at this point. You just have to kind of get your message out there in one form or another. They may be meant to be sort of moons, but they look a bit to me like almost the symbols that you sort of see online for being connected and so forth. So I think there's, you have the skill and readiness to connect and to bring a different perspective to things with the Hanged One reversed so that people can make better choices. That's what you're meant to do. You're meant to shift the dial on this. You're meant to, by getting people to understand themselves and come together and ask the right questions, And you're the person to do it, Pile 3. You definitely have that skill. And your spirit wants you to know it. So let's have a look at some astrology and numerology for you to guide your way. Neptune. You're psychic, this is I actually think like most of this is going to be seen in really great, thinking, question asking, actions, sharing, all that sort of thing. But there's a very psychic underpinning to this. You're very, very connected to the upper realms. And you probably actually can read a room. You probably psychically go in and read a room. You'd be an amazing negotiator, a mediator, or anything like that. Fire, yeah, action, passion, creativity. Some of you will do this through creativity. And 5, yeah, dealing with the small conflict, breaking through the small conflict. You'll catch it before it gets too big, actually. Or when it is big already, you'll see how absurd it is, and you can kind of almost prick the balloon, so to speak, take the hot air out of the room. I mean, some of you might be comedians, actually, with this energy, because sometimes comedians have a way of using that kind of third house communication and the brilliant mind to poke fun. Like satire is one of the most powerful things in dealing with totalitarian environments, all of that kind of thing. Incredibly powerful. So some of you may be that as well. Anyway, to finish off, we're just going to see what magic you bring to this. We've already seen you're a magician, but let's just see what magic you bring to manifesting what your spirit is saying to you at this point in time, Pile 3. Listen. Okay, I think that works on a number of levels. You listen really well. Socrates listened very well, knew what the next question needed to be, could hear what was common between people, could bring people together, could bring a new... because you weren't just talking at people. You're not a lecturer. You bring people with you and you hear what they say. But I also think, listen to your intuition. Listen to your creative inspiration. The spirit is talking to you all the time because you have an important message. And it may be important to take time out just to be quiet and to get into that contemplative space, so that you don't burn yourself out in doing all of this. Okay, Pile 3, no pressure on you, but you're here for a reason, and the world really needs people like you. So So I do hope that that is helpful. I do hope that what your spirit had to say to you was inspiring and comforting and encouraging all at once. Do go and see Reena's reading. It's very important to embody this and to feel, what your body is telling you as well too. Because I think you're in a bit of a marathon. It's not just a sprint, so I think that's very important. But otherwise, if you enjoyed the reading, please like the reading and like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome part 4 to your reading. So underneath the tarot card of the Hermit from the Blue Deviant Tarot that brought you to this were some other cards here, which for the first part of the reading is meant to give a bit of an idea about what your spirit song is. So we're going to look at the song your spirit is singing to you, the big theme around all of this. Then we're going to look at what it's actually saying, how it voices it to you and in what ways. And then we're going to have a look at what your spirit wants you to manifest. So this is getting back to something in the core of you and where you find balance and where you find joy. And I think your spirit is asking you to remember something that mattered to you when you were very young. It's like getting back to that kind of sense of what is your destiny, what is your true self. The Starborn archetype talks about that. It talks about the time of birth. And of course, the date, time and place of birth in astrology is what maps your life path in many ways through your astrology chart. So it's an archetype that talks about that we each come in with a unique destiny and a unique path. And it talks about getting back in touch with what you really wanted to do as a child. And it's really interesting because we also have the Temple here and we have Vesta. Vesta being often hearth and home. It's also what we find and have as sacred in our lives. So there is something probably way back from your childhood and certainly even now about where you feel at home and where you feel a sacred connection that your spirit wants you to reconnect with, because your spirit wants to celebrate something that you've done. Your spirit wants to say you've brought something into balance. It could be socially, it could be legally, it could be just within yourself. And you maybe don't even realize that you've done that and that you in some way have come back to understand who you truly are. And this is the way to celebrate it and understand it is to remember the sacred of who you truly are and who you truly are at home. I feel like many of you spend a lot of time around other people, maybe dealing with social situations, keeping the balance, keeping the peace, all of those sort of things. But there's something that your spirit is singing to you that you should recognize that you've done, that it is somehow fulfilling something that was core to you. I read a really interesting book many years ago that I really recommend actually if you resonate to this. And it's a book called The Soul's Code by I think he's a psychoanalyst and philosopher, James Hillman. So I think it's still available. And what he talks about is, Plato talked about, the acorn, in the acorn is the oak. It's the concept of like in the seed of us is who we truly are. And he uses sort of different famous people from history, both positive and negative, to show the sort of concept about who we were as a child. It says a lot about what our soul really is. And he talks about our demon, D-A-E-M-O-N, not demon as in anything Christian, but the concept of the higher self that knows more than our sort of functioning brain at that age knows about who we really want to be. And he says that, it's really important to understand that and remember that, because if we follow that in some way, we are most likely to self-actualize and be happy. And it's sacred to who we are at home and what we're meant to be. And sometimes what happens, and a lot of his thesis is that, you're born into a family of lawyers and they say you have to be a lawyer, but you might be a poet, So it's getting back to that. So I think your spirit really wants you to think about what mattered to you when you were potentially very young, or what is still your core dream that you think is yours, and how do you make that sacred, and to recognize you've done something already towards this, even if you feel that you haven't. So that's the song, I think the Bible talks about sing the body electric or something. Does it say that? Or would the Bible have the word electric in? I've heard that sort of term anyway, but it's that sort of thing about singing to the true self and the true energy. So I think there is something you're meant to celebrate and see that you've achieved, but there's even more to get to your sacred self and to who you were really meant to be. So let's ask Tarot about what else it can tell us about what your spirit song is. pile 4. King of Cups, the Devil reversed, 4 of Pentacles, the Empress reversed, the Queen of Cups reversed. Okay, so for some of you, this could be saying, I have to say, that maybe your childhood sort of imprinting didn't allow you to be truly who you are. And your spirit is singing to you about how you've come out of some of that and you're already starting to rebirth who you truly were. It is possible with the Empress reversed and Queen of Cups reversed here, there could have been a parental figure, most likely the mother, but it doesn't have to be because it's not really gender-based, that was not in alignment with this and was maybe not giving you the kind of love you needed for the truly sacred part of your spirit to arise, and you're kind of always trying to just feel safe and stable. So there's something to liberate yourself from that because you're coming into who you were meant to be. It's saying you have done this in some way. So even if you are still dealing with some sort of like programming from when you were young, you've actually done a lot, and your spirit wants to sing to you about how wonderful that is and how much more you could do, that you are very emotionally mature. You are ready to, as a mature person, go and look into what the child wanted and to bring that through in a sacred and balanced way. But there is something, your soul song is saying that something may be still that sense when you were very young, and it is time to recommit yourself, with the Temple and with Vesta to the place and the way and the being within that allows you to be liberated from that and to be truly, authentically who you want to be in the world. And this could be in anything. It could be in love, career, creativity, the way you communicate, the sort of people you're friends with, could be anything, your spiritual path, doesn't really matter. But there's some old pattern that was supposedly nurturing but wasn't. But you are coming into this, there is a cause to celebrate. Okay, so let's have a look with that, what your spirit is really trying to say. So firstly, we're going to use a couple of decks to show kind of energies or entities that are bringing you the message. So one is almost for your spiritual lineage, which is from the Saints and Mystics deck. And the second one, which is an Archangel deck, is looking at an Archangel energy that is supporting you. So firstly, your sort of spiritual lineage that connects to what your spirit is singing to you at this point in time. Or actually what your spirit, in this case, is trying to say to you in relation to the song. Harry Houdini. Now that's interesting. So Harry Houdini was, of course, a master escapist. So there is something here about escaping from that which was not true, that was not nurturing, and getting back to who you were, and that you've mastered things. This is what you're meant to celebrate. You've mastered your emotional thing. You've understood this. You're ready to reconsecrate who you truly are, because Harry Houdini, and it talks about here, was the master of that. He had skills, he had a very, very precise set of skills that actually allowed him to get free of any situation that was not right, that was not sacred, that was not true to who he was. And very clever here with the Libra and so forth. So your spirit is trying to say to you that you have everything you need. You're emotionally ready. You have the skills. You can be whatever it is that you want it to be. Even if people, nurturing figures, parents, teachers, whatever told you no, you're ready to do this. Okay, and let's see an Archangel that is supporting you in this part of your journey. Pile 4. Salathiel. So this is giving another layer to this, and I think it's making it even clearer what's being said here. And I'm going to say this doesn't have to be this, because if you are already relating to this and you want to be a poet, or you want to be a singer, or you want to be an athlete, then by all means continue with that. But Salathiel is about devotion, and we have Vesta, which is about what is sacred, and we have the Temple. And Salathiel is often an archangel that comes and watches over and supports spiritual leaders. So I think for some of you, whatever it is that you went through was an accelerated development to be a spiritual leader and to help others find what is sacred and true to themselves. So some of you will help through spiritual teaching other people escape from the illegitimate sort of like personas that have been put on them and find their authentic emotional truth or their spiritual pathway. Some of you are going to do that spiritually. But as I say, if it is more that you want to be a poet or a singer or something else, that's fine. there is a spiritual support for you, a spiritual pathway to make it sacred so that what you are doing is sacred. So that's really lovely. Let's have a look at how your spirit is talking to you either through dreams or oracular synchronicities. So for an oracular one, love. Okay, so how you love, who you love is connected to this. What love is to you. You know, and it could also be synchronistic things, love songs that come on the radio, you know, portraits of love, all those sort of things could be telling you when you are hitting a particular point of emotional purity and devotion that is important. And some of you as spiritual leaders, you may become mystics or something like that. There could be a great love center to what you do spiritually. So, you know, I sort of think of Sufis that consider the divine the beloved, for instance, that kind of energy. Okay. And in terms of dream energy that could be coming to you, school, exams, that's interesting. That came up for another. So some of you may have come to more than one. So this is very interesting because you are meant to celebrate how far you've come. You may not really fully realize. When school exams turn up in dreams, that's when we are anxious, where we feel we may not be adequate, we may not be ready. So I think this is what your spirit is trying to say to you. You are ready. You are ready to be a spiritual leader. You are ready to go to what is sacred and true to you. You are ready to be emotionally mature and resonant. But if you feel unready, then pay attention to, you know, when you have those dreams and so forth, what aspects of it are you thinking about? Because that's where you may be able to connect, particularly here to Salathiel, and get that sort of like support and counsel about your spiritual path, because you are more than ready to do this. And that's that. I don't know that you know it yet, though. That's why I think your spirit wants you to celebrate how far you've come. Okay, so to also help, I want an overarching narrative that they might be talking to you about. So I'm going, therefore, to the First Nations of Australia, and to the Aboriginal Dreamtime Oracle, because so much of their beautiful spirituality was told through narrative and through story. And so I feel like this can also give a kind of a narrative to what your soul and your spirit is saying to you at this point in time. Moon phases. So this is kind of about understanding timing, and this might be why sometimes you feel inadequate, because you're not understanding the timing of things. You haven't seen how far you've come, because this story is about a wallaby who one night meets an echidna, and they have a wonderful time and they get on really beautifully. And so the next night he comes hoping to see echidna again, and echidna isn't there, and he keeps coming back and feels really lonely because he hasn't seen echidna. And then around about a month later, echidna turns up again, and he says, you know, why weren't you here? And echidna says, I only come here when the moon is full. And so after that they knew the timing and so forth. So I think this story is about you understanding that, you know, maybe if some of this is you felt that you weren't ready, or that you hadn't found your people, or whatever it might be, that there are phases around this and timing around this, and you will be guided towards it. This is not, you know, it was not that echidna did not like wallaby. Echidna liked wallaby as much as wallaby liked echidna. It was just the different phases and the finding about how to connect that and make that connect. And if any of you this is going to play out around love, then it may be just getting into the rhythms of love with the other person is part of coming to this emotional maturity and being true to who you are and having something that is truly sacred. Okay, so let's see with tarot a little bit more about what is being said to you before we look at how it can be manifest. But firstly, what else is your spirit trying to say in this story, in this narrative, in the people that have come to talk to you and the signs that have been brought to you? Strength reversed, Seven of Swords, the Fool reversed, Nine of Pentacles, Queen of Wands reversed. So I think it's again saying that there was someone, and it may be, it's maybe replaying out in your life too, that there are people who maybe make you feel less than you are. And Spirit wants you to know that you are more ready and more capable of acting on your own. It almost feels like for some of you, there are people around, whether they're nurturing figures, whether they're teachers, whether they're friends, whether they're lovers, whatever it is, who would like you to think that you can't be, you know, make it on your own. You know, you aren't enough on your own. You aren't ready. But that's not true. you've been around the block with this a few times with the Fool reversed, and it's ready. You're ready to go back again to that sacred beginning of who you are with a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of wisdom, and you can navigate this. You know, Spirit is saying with Seven of Swords, you can navigate that, and you can tell this a mile off now. If you really just allow yourself to do it and you celebrate your understanding, you can see a mile off when someone's manipulating you. You're ready to go back to that. You're not prepared to have your strength taken anymore by that which is manipulative. So I do feel that many of you have come to this sort of in a hard one way, but you are so ready to strike your own path and so wise in what you're doing. But you are going back to the beginning spiritually to become truly who you are and what is sacred to you. Okay, so what can you manifest from what Spirit is saying to you, powerful? So we're going to look at a couple of things. We're going to look at light and shadow first. So because it's true that when we manifest, there is both shadow that we need to be aware of and deal with and light that we can be aware of and leverage. So firstly, what shadow is here for you to be aware of? Wow, Cerberus. So there's a couple of elements to this, I would say. Firstly, they are the hounds of hell. They are fierce protectors. So there may be a side of you that is a fierce protector of others, that is trying to kind of almost overcompensate for what you lacked in terms of nurturing and support in your life. And so it's just important to know it's wonderful when you want to be a guardian, and that is genuine and it's reciprocal, but it can be a shadow if you feel like you're always trying to kind of heal your own pain from the past in looking after others, because what it isn't allowing you to do is, one, celebrate how far you've come, and two, get back to what is sacred for you. Having said that, this shadow could work for you once you do get to that point, because you will be, when necessary, a fierce guardian of that which is sacred. And I think that's a good thing. So shadow doesn't have to be bad, but you just need to be aware of how it is operating for you. Let's have a look at the light side of this for you. Einsof, that's huge. Wow, no wonder there's a possibility that some of you are spiritual leaders or going to be spiritual leaders. You are so dialed in to the spirit. Like Einsof is the highest point really of the divine, you know, in the Kabbalah and in Judaic mysticism. Direct connection to the upper realms. There is something deeply sacred in what your spirit is saying to you at the moment, in what you've always wanted to be, in what you can show and teach for others around this. And it's weird. I think what happens sometimes when someone is that much in the light, and this is probably why you need Cerberus as a shadow protector, so I think it's actually working really well here, is you can attract the dark to you like iron filings to a magnet. The dark is attracted to the light. And I think there is an enormous amount of light in you. And it's cost you a bit, I think, in early stages of your life, but you're ready to go because you are so dialed in, you are so connected. That is a very powerful sign, particularly for a spiritual path. Very powerful. Do not doubt how dialed in you are. Okay, so to finish off looking at how this can manifest, I'm going to do some tarot firstly, and then we're going to look at how the stars or numerology can help you, and then what magic you bring to this. But again, that's huge. That card doesn't come out all that often, and that is really powerful. Do not underestimate it. So let's see a little bit more about what tarot wants to say about how you can manifest this. Three of Swords, through understanding your own pain and the pain of others. Five of Cups, and letting the emotional energy go that does not work. Seven of Cups, connecting to the divine, to all the emotional options, opening the door to that. The Star, connecting to hope, connecting to the shining light above. Three of Pentacles reversed, and undoing that which is not a good foundation anymore. So this is about clearing. I mean, 2 3s on either side, clearing out things that were foundational that no longer serve you, letting go of emotional patterns that don't, and then heading towards your true North Star. It's sacred, and it's going to have a really powerful effect on others, particularly if you want to be a spiritual leader. Okay, so let's have a look at some astrology and numerology for you, and then, as I say, we'll finish with what magic you bring to manifesting this message from your spirit today. Powerful. New moon. Yeah, this is the time to go within and to really contemplate this and to find your sacred space. Very important with the temple there. to find your sacred space and Vesta, and to know what that is to you. Is it a place within you? Is it a room in your house that makes you feel safe? Is it a temple you go to? Is it going to a forest and being amongst nature? Whatever it is, find that place and go within to contemplate, to really see how far you've come so you can celebrate this and move forward with confidence. Ascendant. Yeah, this is part of what you're meant to be in the world. And I take ascendant as ascending as well. You are ascending. This is what you're meant to be. And you're meant to be seen for this in the world in some way. And you're coming back again to who you truly are, how you want to present yourself in the world. And 12th house, psychic as all get out, spiritual as all get out, really, really connected. But you shouldn't hide it away. This is part of who you are, but it's meant to be seen. Powerful. Okay, so to finish off, I'm just going to draw a card to see the magic that you can bring to manifest the message that Spirit brought you today. Mysticism. Gee, what a surprise. Okay, you are really, really dialed in. Particularly, pay attention to the Kabbalah if you haven't already. I think you would be very strongly connected to that sort of tradition in one form or another, even if it's just learning to do or whatever. But you are a mystic. You're a natural mystic. I think that you've been in environments that were almost hostile to that, but you have come out of that, and Spirit wants you to celebrate that and to reconnect to what is sacred within you, because there is much that you can teach others. And I think you've probably from past lives got significant knowledge if you don't already have it from building in this. And it may be, in fact, for some of you, you have spent a lot of time learning in this space and you are highly mystical and highly learned and you are meant to teach. And again, Spirit wants you to celebrate that and see that and know that that's part of what your core destiny was. So that's really exciting, and that's really exciting to see that sort of energy in the world and to sort of see somebody arise like that. So I do hope that you resonate with the reading. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to comment, I'd love to hear from it. It would be really interesting for you to go and see Reena's readings and see what this means in the body, because I almost feel for some of you, this spiritual essence, the temple, is within. It's within. So the body and how you embody that would be really, really powerful. So I do hope you go and see her reading as well to get the full picture. But for now, I wish you well, and I hope to see you in future readings.